Folks, it's morning here in Spain where Lara and I are based. I don't know if you're watching us from somewhere where it's morning as well. Perhaps you're watching us on catch up, but I hope wherever you are, you're having a fantastic day. So today I'm really excited. We're joined by Lara Mehanna. She and I trained together a few years ago, and she's going to be chatting to us about circular economy and as I said in the post, I did not do very well in the quiz, so I'm looking forward to learning a lot today. So Lara, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, she did a good job. It was okay. The score was fine.
It could have been better though. I felt it should have been better.
Yeah, it could be better. So yeah, that's what I want to talk about actually today. So we want to do these positive environmental actions, and there's so much information out there, and we don't always have the time to basically sit down and research all this information, because it really does take a substantial amount of time to look this information up and really figure out what decisions, what choices, what actions are best for us to actually be environmentally positive. So yeah, this is something that I'm going to be sharing today. So we're going to go through like a little bit of a quiz, the quiz that T did, and this will help you identify what areas you actually know, what areas so your strengths, your weaknesses, and what you can improve. Yeah, and we'll be talking about several ways you can improve that, and yeah, we can that will kind of come together throughout the session. Yeah.
I mean, maybe before we start, could you explain what circular economy is? Because it's a term I keep hearing recently, but I really don't actually know what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So circular economy is just a way. So we want to be environmentally positive, right? So we want to be helpful to the environment and socially positive as well. So we want to do things that are good for the environment and society. So there are many different ways to approach that. Circular economy is one of these frameworks. So it's it kind of puts together a way of reaching sustainability, of achieving sustainability. So it talks about mostly about how to approach waste and how to regenerate nature. So it is really how to, so I don't want to get into like a complicated way of explaining it, but really it's just a way of achieving becoming more sustainable. It's a framework, a set of different ways of really getting there. Because if I don't want to get too into it, because it's going to sound businessy, but it's really not. Okay, so I don't want it to sound businessy, but businesses are the ones that are contributing mostly to pollution. So it is businessy, but as customers, we're paying into these businesses. So this is why I suppose I don't want to get too much into the business aspect, but we are involved in it. So in a nutshell, circularity is, or circular economy is a way of approaching waste to kind of stop producing it and to regenerate nature. So this is the shortest way I'll say it, but really it is an approach or framework to achieve sustainability, which is a term that we've been hearing for years. This is just a framework.
And I guess really like what we want to be doing is introducing these steps to our students as soon as possible so that, they grow with this mindset of sustainability and recycling and not creating waste and things like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, communicating these things like to young learners, I think is so important, because so like I said, this is a businessy topic, but it's really not a businessy topic, because we're customers, whether we own businesses or not, and kids are customers as well. And their buying behaviors, with their choices, what they buy, really has a big impact on their environment as well. So, so when they have this information and they know how businesses operate, how a circular economy operates, what sustainability is, then they have all the information they need to make better informed decisions. And also, kids are incredibly creative. So like I worked with kids in circular economy. So we were helping them kind of set up their own businesses. And the ideas that they came up with are honestly really exciting. So when we give these tools, I think, to kids, it gives them this kind of, gives them the information they need, right? And right now, I think this information is not readily available everywhere. It just needs a lot of research to find the positive actions to make.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, whilst Lara's setting up her screen with the questions from the quiz, if anybody has any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. And if you're watching on catch up, Lara's not on Facebook; she's not in the group, but feel free to tag me, and I'll pass any questions over to her.
Yeah, and if anyone has any questions throughout this quiz, so basically throughout the quiz will be so obviously you can answer right away if you know the answer, if you just want to guess it, but we'll be covering kind of these relevant topics to circular economy, to being environmentally positive, and yeah, you can just ask me questions there as well, so I'm happy to answer that.
Awesome.
All right. So do people have a link to this quiz? Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah, it was on the original post, and I'll share it in the comments on the live stream as well afterwards.
Perfect. Okay. So do you want to get started?
Yes, because I need to learn lots.
All right, let's do this. Okay. So recycling is the best action you can take day to day to be environmentally positive. Would you say this is true or false?
See, I think when I did the quiz, I put false because it kind of not felt like a trick question, but I think we're often told that, if we recycle, we're doing, that's the best thing we can do for the planet in our day-to-day life. Whereas actually, there are so many things we can do before we get to the fact that we've got this plastic and paper and stuff that needs recycling. So that's why I think I put false.
You did. I actually skimmed through your answers right before the session. You did. So yes, it is false. So like you said, T, there are many steps that you could do before. So reusing things. So keeping materials, really one of the most important things in the circular economy is keeping materials at their highest value. So when you keep a material at its highest value, it means you're not needing to, so you don't need to put in that much energy to like recycling, for example, takes a lot of energy. Okay, so this I don't want to get too much into it. I'm gonna try again, actually, sorry, because I don't want to make this sound complicated. It's not complicated at all. So what happens with recycling, first of all, recycling systems are actually quite poor in the quality that they achieve. So for example, plastic recycling is actually not something that is as much as we'd like to believe that when we throw something into the recycling bin, it's actually going to get recycled. Actually, a very small percentage of plastic gets recycled worldwide. So it will vary from country to country, but it can be as low as 9%. And as low as, yeah, really low percentages. So to avoid that in the first place, our choice of materials and our choice of what we buy and what we use is far more effective. So just not buying it in the first place if we know that it's going to cause an environmental, it's going to be negative environmentally. So for example, plastic, just not buying it in the first place is a far better environmental action than recycling it, because it's likely not going to get recycled, right? Let's talk about, for example, glass. Glass is a great material, but glass actually is quite heavy to carry. It can break easily. So it is a great material. Well, there's a question on the quiz about glass as well, but so recycling glass is actually a very energy intensive process. So you have to move it, you have to, the recycling process actually requires a lot of energy. So recycling really in a circular economy is like a last resort. Okay, so there are so many things that we can do before to that are better. So yeah, this is trying to simplify it as much as possible without circular economy like basics, but yeah, because it is kind of simple, but also there's a lot of information that can be added. Okay, so next question. Do you have any comments, T? Is there anything you'd like to add? Whenever you'd like to add anything, just stop me. Right.
Will do. I'll jump in.
Cool. All right. So Nike is turning old shoes into sports surfaces and flooring. What is that called? Is it called recycling, downcycling, or upcycling?
I know I got this one wrong because I thought it was recycling. And then I learned a new term called downcycling.
Downcycling. Okay, so this is downcycling. And why is it downcycling? So, like I said, we want to try and keep materials at their highest value. I'll give an example about this towards the end of the lesson just to explain it. Not lesson, it's a podcast, or I don't know, whatever we're doing. So so I'll give a clear example about keeping materials at their highest value. So when we're saying recycling, basically you're keeping the material is being used for something almost equal to what it was. So let's say, for example, you have plastic bottles, okay? Basically, if you're recycling plastic bottles into more plastic bottles, that's sort of like recycling, or keeping it to a kind of a similar value, right? When you're downcycling, basically, the value of this product is actually decreasing, okay? And when you're upcycling, the value is increasing. So I'll give an example of upcycling. For example, you have a pair of jeans, okay? So it's an old pair of jeans, it's ripped up, you can't wear it. So the value of this pair of jeans for you is nothing anymore. You're going to throw it away. So a company comes and they take this pair of jeans and they upcycle it to new pairs of shoes. Now this pair of shoes has a higher value than the torn up jeans that you no longer wanted. Okay, so this is upcycling. Downcycling is like this example with shoes. So the shoes had a lot of value at one point, right? So now they're ripped up, they no longer, and sometimes they're not even ripped up, sometimes it's just returns. They just no longer have value for Nike. Or for the person that's wearing them. What they're going to do with these is shred them and turn them into this flooring. So basically this flooring, first of all, is it's unlikely that it will be recycled again. So this is the last place it's going to get to. And it's not as good quality, or it has the same value as the shoes had before. So this is kind of going down a step. Right, so this is downcycling. Recycling is really, for example, I think my favorite example of recycling is like wool recycling. So sweaters, wool sweaters. There's a very efficient way of actually recycling wool sweaters. So you can, from an old wool sweater that you had for like 3 or 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, you can actually get a new sweater. So this is effective, efficient, which is not something that we find all the time. Okay, so yeah. I'm trying to explain these things without without slides, right? So I hope I'm doing an okay job and being as I want to be as I don't want to talk too much about it, but I also want to be clear. But without slides and like little figures, it might be a bit challenging. So hopefully I'm getting the point across.
No, but I mean, it's like you said, I mean, it's such a huge world, and to know, like I say, I'd never heard the term downcycling before, so I would never have kind of known what it was. So this is kind of a really good starting point. And then if people are really interested in a particular term, then they can go through. Yep. And Maria says as well, yep, you're explaining everything well.
Thank you. Yeah, because also, so the relevance of things like of these words, the relevance of actually knowing this as a customer is very important, because so when you look at Nike's sustainability page now, they're like, yes, we're amazing, we're like close to net zero, we're, and it's just like, are you? And this is misleading for the customer. But when the customer knows that this is downcycling, right, and this is not actual recycling, then they have this information to make the decision that, no, I want something that is actually either upcycled or something that's coming from different materials, right? So you have that information. Okay, so where can you throw biodegradable and compostable packaging? Choose one or more. So anywhere, recycling bin with other packaging, compost collection bins, or general trash. So the correct answer here, I think you got this right, T. So it was compost collection bins. Okay, so so now everyone's trying to move away from plastic. We obviously know that plastic is awful, so we're trying to move away from plastic. There are lots of alternatives coming up now. However, if you're using something compostable, okay, but you don't have the right place to throw it, then this compostable material is not actually improving the situation, okay? And also the biodegradable materials. So in the newest legislation from the EU, the terminology is like, there's a lot more, it's more strict on what can be called biodegradable and compostable. So biodegradable doesn't mean you can throw it out in nature and it's going to biodegrade. And we can't do that. That's littering, right? So we can't actually do that. There has to be a certain time frame for it to biodegrade. And that hasn't been in place so far. And compostable packaging actually has to go to a specific composting facility for it to be turned into compost, which then has to be healthy for the soil, right? So it's there to replenish topsoil. So what happens if I throw a compostable packaging in with other packaging? It can basically contaminate recycling streams. So if it's thrown in with plastic, what happens is that this can ruin batches of plastic being recycled, right? Because it's not the same kind of material. So it will ruin that quality, which, and like I said already, plastic recycling is already terrible. So this is kind of so if we have a composting, if we're composting at home and it's a home composting compostable package, then that's great, right? But the way to do it is to avoid it. For now, until you have composting collection, avoid it, right? So this is a much better action.
Yeah. We've had a lovely comment here from May. Apologies if I mispronounce your name there, May. We hope that the overwhelming number of wastes, particularly residual, can be reduced and that environmental packaging can be adapted. Yeah, I think that's what we all want. We kind of want to move away from all this plastic packaging to more effective resources.
Absolutely. And the thing that we can do now, right? So the actions that we can take are really not to buy this, right? So when we, when we have this information, just to find alternatives, right? And there are many alternatives. They're just, you just have to kind of figure them out, right? And hopefully with time and just the legislation is coming into effect. I haven't been seeing much of it yet. So I'm just like, I'm waiting for it to see like it come into effect, but it will. So by 2024, but yeah, until then, just avoiding it completely is a great option. Yeah. So choose the best fashion or upcycling practice from the list below. So I sewed in pearls and sequin onto an old dress. It looks stunning. Now I don't need to buy a new one. I learned how to repair clothes. Now I don't go shopping nearly as often. I sold my clothes on Vinted. This helps drive down consumption of new fashion and gives me extra cash. So what is your favorite one of these? What do you think is best?
Like my initial reaction when I read them was that all three of them are examples of, well, certainly the first two are examples of upcycling, kind of making something better, but that all three of them were good practices. Yes. But then I decided the middle one was probably the best.
Excellent. So it is the best. Okay. So the materials are very interesting for me because this is what I like to do. But materials, so we want to, like I said, we want to keep them at their highest value. And we want to avoid using as much as we can. So we don't want to use too much of it. Okay, so materials, because then we have to process them. Okay, so this is energy intensive. So to make a new garment of clothing, it takes water, it takes labor, it takes a factory, it takes shipping. So it's a lot of things that are necessary. So the longer an item can last, and of course the materials it is made of will greatly affect its environmental impact. Okay. So now if I have a dress and then I buy sequin, for example, or like false pearls, these are actually made of plastic. So if I sew them on, yes, I've avoided wanting to buy a new dress, okay, but what I've done is also made this garment more difficult to recycle because it needs to be taken apart. So now I've mixed in more materials together, and when I do that, then it becomes more difficult to recycle this fabric. Okay, and then selling clothes on Vinted is excellent. And I'm really excited, and I love how many people have actually stopped buying new clothes because they're buying things that are secondhand on Vinted. So, and they're one of these startups that have made so much money over the past few years. So like since they've launched, so they're a good example of how becoming more sustainable can actually make you money. Right? So how you can use the idea of a circular economy to make money, right? Because money is an important tool, and it's very important as part of a business to make a good profit. However, there's a problem with Vinted. Sorry, Vinted. So every time you buy something through Vinted, you're using packages, right? So how are these coming? How are people sending these clothes? Either they're using plastic, hopefully it's been reused, right? They're using cardboard boxes. So also this is material, okay? And sometimes it's going to be reused, okay? So this keeps the material at a higher value. So when you reuse a material, you're keeping it and maintaining it at a high value, okay? But sometimes it's going to be thrown away. And this means this material is going to decrease in value, right? So also, we'll think about the shipping. Shipping is CO2 emissions, right? So yes, we are decreasing the amount of effort and energy and material and everything that goes into making a new garment. However, we are still having an environmental impact because of the shipping and how we ship. So yeah, definitely this is the best one. Right. So, and you can also exchange clothes with friends. You can buy clothes from secondhand shops locally. So these are all very good, ways of doing this. And actually, I'm going to take this opportunity here to explain, because I think it would be clear here to say at its highest value. So why am I saying materials at their highest value? So if when you are, let's say, at a secondhand shop and you're buying a dress that was pre-owned, that is keeping it at the same value, right? So you're using it again. But what happens if you throw it away? That value is gone, right? So this is also how you keep things at their highest value. I think I just took that opportunity so that I won't explain it again from the get-go. Okay. Next, so how much fabric is recycled worldwide? This one is awful.
I think I was too optimistic when I answered this one. I thought, well, it definitely won't be the lowest.
Well, it is. It's a shame. It's a real shame. However, we're doing something about it. Okay, so there are a lot of businesses now that are doing something about it. But this just highlights how important it is for us as customers to be like, no, I don't want to buy this fast fashion crap. So if I don't buy it, they don't make it, right? So yeah, just buying items that are first. So what determines if a fabric will get recycled are several things, but one thing in particular is if it's made of one type of material. So 100% cotton, 100% linen, 100%. So when the material is the same type of fiber, it can be recycled more easily, right? And the second one is collection. So where can it be collected to be recycled? Okay, and this is something that is now coming into place, but it's still not there yet. So trying to avoid buying fast fashion is definitely an action that we can take, right? So yeah, for sure. And this is okay. The figures are higher per country. So I'll just so that I could tell you, like, for example, the US has 15%, recycles 15%. So it depends on the country, but this is something that we're talking about worldwide. It's lower, right? So it's okay. In some countries, it's a lot better. So, yeah. So recycling plastic bottles into fabric is a great solution to end plastic waste. True or false?
I'm going to say a definite false to this, because obviously once you kind of stop wearing the clothes, the fabrics have plastics in them. Like you've just said, it makes it much harder to recycle, to, if they, yeah, bad.
Awful practice. One of the worst things that I see, like when I'm thinking about circular economy, there, like in like the concept and how circular economy works, one of my least favorite things other than this is plastic trash bags. So plastic trash bags, I think, are ridiculous. But but this one is the second. Like, this is at the top of my list. No, 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 no. It's just circulating this material for one more go, and then it's so difficult to recycle it. So yeah, plastic clothes, not a good thing. So all types of fabrics can be easily recycled. So we just talked about that. So the answer is false. And the reason why is if you mix fabrics together, it just makes it difficult to recycle. So choosing 100% is great. Now, glass performs badly as single-use food packaging. I've already touched up on this a bit. So the answer here is false. And the reason why, so glass is an excellent material to hold foods. However, it needs to be reused for it to be efficient. Otherwise, you're taking this material that has such high value, and what we're doing is basically we're destroying its value right away. So we're using it once. We can reuse jars for hundreds of things, but they're leaving it up to the customer. So I reuse jars so much, but like, how many jars am I going to reuse? Like, this is, yeah, no. So it's the business's responsibility to find ways to circulate this glass. But the reason why it's not good as single-use food packaging is because of the high intensive process, energy intensive process of recycling it, and it's heavy. So even moving it to get it recycled is also very energy intensive and produces more emissions. So yeah, this is something also. All right, very good. So we have 2 left. Research shows that recycled plastic in food packaging is less likely to leach chemicals into food. What do you think?
That's got to be false. I mean, any type
Yes.
of plastic, whether it's recycled or new, is gonna do something bad.
Yes, yes. So that is a definite fault. Yeah. So plastic packaging that has been recycled leaches far more chemicals into foods. And this is why whenever businesses now are saying, oh, yeah, this is our packaging for our new food product, it's made of 100% recycled plastic. It's like, no, thank you. I don't want that. That's worse. So, I mean, yes, you're circulating the plastic, but this is very bad for health. So what are you doing? Yeah. So again, here, choice is to say, no, I don't want this product, and to opt for another one, right? So, but again, this is information that's not available. So like, you have to be really researching this information to figure it out, because companies are greenwashing this, and they're saying, yes, look, this is an excellent step that we're doing to reduce plastic all over the world. Yeah, but are you doing a great job? Plastic has been linked to weight gain, true or false?
Well, again, I thought kind of it must be true to
Yeah.
be a question in the quiz. I was like,
It has been linked to weight gain. So it disrupts, so plastic can disrupt different types of hormones in the body and the production of hormones. And this has been linked to weight gain. So yeah, all
So
in all,
leading a
plastic.
more sustainable life also helps you to lose weight.
Yes, and generally the food that's packaged in plastic is likely not very good quality in many ways. So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this has been the quiz. I thought these are topics that are very important to take action as a customer, and these are things that we can teach in the classroom as well. So because why not? So we're teaching kids, different topics. So why not include this information? So yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, let's go into this kind of bringing into the classroom, because obviously we're all second language English teachers, and a lot of the terminology, even you said yourself, it's kind of a bit more business related, a bit technical. How would you encourage teachers to start bringing these topics into the classroom without overwhelming the students?
For sure. So I'm writing a course for kids, actually. Okay, so there are different ways. The thing is, there is background information that you need. So I'm going to share also this course that I'm actually starting on the 17th of October. So there's background information that's needed there, right? So I don't want to say just kind of start sharing, right? Because sometimes we're giving off incorrect information. So like recycling. So if we tell the kids just to recycle, I think that's incorrect information, because there's so much more that you can do before, right? So if you do, so take a course. So there are many courses out there. There are free courses. There are, so obviously my course is there as well, but there are free courses if you don't want to invest in this. Just study something related to a circular economy or sustainability, just to get some bit of background. Then when you share this in class, you know that you're giving correct information, right? So I think this is key. Yeah, I encourage, so in the course that I'm writing, which is also, I'm happy to share with anyone that wants to test it out in their classrooms. So yeah, this is something that I would love to talk about with anyone that's interested. Basically, it's very much related to understanding waste. So when are we producing waste? Why are we producing waste? So helping kids understand that this is, that this waste can go on to pollute the environment, okay, and how you can stop producing it, I think is key, right? So this is information that I think is needed. Definitely think that a course is important, because like teachers training, you can't just step into a classroom and start teaching. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes, so there is training that's necessary, right? So find the right training for you, and start including information in your classrooms. I think a first step is definitely that.
Fantastic. And I mean, what about for materials writers? I know I'm probably guilty of using the old, yep, you should recycle more whenever I'm doing a topic on the environment. So what suggestions would you have to bring it into the materials?
So I haven't seen materials that I'm like, I have to study more, I suppose, on to see what materials in ELT in particular are actually doing a great job. This will, I can get back to you on that, and we can share it after on the video or in the comments for the video for like rewatching it. But yeah, I have not seen, I have not done, I would say, enough research to suggest certain writers. So I will do that and definitely get back to you. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, cool. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know the UN with their sustainable development goals, there are a lot of publishers who are trying to bring them into the materials a lot more as well. Yeah, I mean, what do you think will be the long-term benefits of these SDGs?
So, okay, I suppose I've kind of moved away from using the SDGs because I don't think they're as practical as circular economy. So circular economy, I think, is an easier, like, what, I mean, sure, it might look a bit complicated, but that's because from a distance it looks complicated. But after like 3 or 4 hours of learning it, you have a very solid amount of information that can help you make a lot of decisions. So in fact, I think it's a much shorter investment because it's a very well established framework, right? So it's like a formula, just like 1 + 1 = 2, right? So that's why I prefer circular economy, the circular economy approach. So obviously, it's going to have very good long-term effects, I think, on children. It really depends. It depends on how we teach it also. I think we need to give them actions. So if they are not walking away with actions, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. So of course, the information, whether it's following SDGs, whether it's following circular economy, it's helpful information. However, it needs to be accurate information, useful, actionable information, and they need to walk out of the classroom doing something, in my opinion. So otherwise, it's just like anything that they study. So I think we know this as teachers.
And I think that's one thing, but when we were chatting before, it's one of the positives that you mentioned about this course, that you know, students learn English in a real situation. You know, they learn about the environment, they learn about circular economy, they can immediately put it into action, and it's not just learning English because they have to, you know, they're making relevant changes in their lives as well at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is, I don't, so like with the course that I'm writing, I'm not even calling it like circular economy basics for, that's the one for young learners. I'm like, I still haven't named it yet, but I think it's just in how to be environmentally positive in your actions. But it's based on circular economy, because when you understand these concepts, I think it just makes it so much easier. And like I said, this is like a 4-hour thing, you know, like 4 or 5 hour investment of your time. And what I want to mention actually, which is something that we were just talking about earlier, that in no way is this a luxury. Like knowing how to behave environmentally is not a luxury. It's not something like, oh, when I have extra money, I'll invest in this and then I can know this information and then I can act on it. Which is why like there are subsidies now. So this is training that is valuable for both the teacher and the student, the school, for, you know, so this is something that's actually subsidized now. So if you want to take a course, whichever course it is, you know, find the course that suits you, right? And then you can actually have that funded by the government. So your training is actually free. And then you can incorporate this into your coursework. You can incorporate it into writing your own materials. You know, you can make use of this whichever way you want in your classroom and as a customer for yourself. So this is not a luxury. This is not a, oh, when I have time, when I have extra money, when I have. This is training like every other type of training, right? So you don't walk into a classroom without learning how to teach before. You don't walk into a business without learning how to, you know, whatever your role is in a business, management, without, you know, learning, either having a management degree or learning about management. So this is the same thing. Yeah.
One thing, kind of just going back to the money side of things, because I think that often people do feel that it's difficult to be more sustainable because the more sustainable options do tend to be more expensive in the short term. So that kind of, you know, I can go to the supermarket and I can do all my shopping and it's all packaged in plastic, or I can go to the butcher and I can buy my meat directly, and then I can go to the fruit and veg shop and I can buy my fruit and veg and it's all natural and it isn't in plastic. And then, and you know, it's certainly something that we could be doing. What kind of advice would you give to people who kind of come back with this, well, I don't have time or I don't have the money to be more sustainable every day?
Right. It's actually a lot cheaper to be sustainable. I'm going to say this flat out. The reason why is because you buy less. Okay. So let's, the easiest example I give is cosmetics. Okay. So I personally, let's say, not just cosmetics, like lotions and everything you use, like self-care and personal care and, you know, all of these things. When you understand things, when you really assess things from circular economy perspective, or from just sustainability, understanding it in sustainable terms. So you'll notice that a lot of the products that you use are not actually like good and you don't want them. So this means that you are using a lot less products, and when you buy the products that are a bit more expensive maybe, and honestly I don't even see how they're more expensive anymore, because like the choices I make are actually so much cheaper. So yeah, cosmetics, I think I spend maybe a fraction, like 5% of what I used to spend before. When it comes to like foods, yeah, sure, we're gonna go to the butcher, but the butcher's nice and you have a good time with them and you're just like, hey, what's up, how's it going? You know, versus standing in line in a supermarket. So yeah, you might need to make that bit of time adjustment, but you'll end up paying less. In my opinion, and from my experience, you'll end up paying a lot less because you're avoiding a lot of things. And think of it also, when you buy a plastic bag, when the business buys a plastic bag, they have an investment that they're making. These plastic bags cost money. This plastic packaging costs money. So when you find solutions that are more related to reuse, so take your own Tupperware, bring your own bag, bring your own container. So you're saving money for both yourself and for the business. So it actually saves money. We just have to know there. So a part of this course is also about circular business models. So I know this sounds a bit businessy, but this as a customer will help you understand why this product needs to be cheaper.
Mm.
And a lot of businesses are just kind of selling it to you at more expensive because it's a pricing strategy, and you'll avoid that business. So it's a very businessy topic, but it's only like a 4 or 5 hour investment of business. Then you know how to be a customer. Yeah, I don't know.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know. I hope I explained it as
Yeah.
clearly as I intended to.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one other thing that I wanted to talk about was the services that you've run for conference organizers.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know you've been, we chatted in the past about kind of setting up conferences for ELT teachers to be, well, for the conference itself to be plastic free and more sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is a new service that I offer now. And this service basically will take any conference and will go completely plastic free. And the idea is to actually decrease the cost rather than increase it. So this demonstrates actually that the less plastic you use, the less you have to pay, right? So and it's like an exhibition space also. So we'll showcase products that you can take home, so that are plastic free. So you'll be able to like interact with these products and see that they work, because I think a lot of times we doubt that something that's sustainable actually works. So let's say a deodorant, just like, yeah, but this doesn't have the chemicals. Is this really going to work, or am I going to stink all day? You know, but you have to, yeah, like, so these will be products that are tried and tested, right? That you'll be able to most likely take home as well. That will be showcased there. So it will be like an exhibition space also. And the idea from this is kind of, okay, so plastic free zones, kind of like smoking free zones were back in the day. You know, it was back in the day, it was kind of like, this is a place where, you know, like you can't smoke here, right? But you can smoke everywhere else. And now it's bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it's like, oh, you can only smoke there. So this is kind of what I want to see with plastic. You can only use it there. So this is the beginning, I think, of becoming really plastic free. So it's just a place it's like an exhibition space, but it's also helpful to organizers, so they don't have to do it on their own. I'll do it for them. And the way it is like put the business model of it, again, circular business models, as businessy as this sounds, is what's going to help me actually make this cheaper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Lara is based here in the south of Spain, so if I'm assuming this is more for kind of areas that you can get to, you know,
Yeah.
not offering the service yet worldwide.
Yeah, that's true. But sooner, like, and soon enough it will be. So it will be something that you can do, like whatever country you're in, you can just follow a guidebook and you will be able to do it. And it'll be completely free. So you'll just be able to follow the guidebook and you'll be able to decrease plastic use. But we have to have run it enough times to really create an effective guidebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, I mean, if you're organizing any conferences in the southern Spain area, do get in touch with Lara and find out how you can be more sustainable in your event.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very good.
Lara, was there anything else that you wanted to mention before we head off?
No, not really. So if you guys are interested, if anyone's interested actually in taking this course, or any other course, just be sure to check with government support. So like if you want, you can, if you click here, if you go to my website and you click here, so this is this is the back end. Actually, you're seeing the back end of my website. But so if you land on home, so you land here, you can go to learn, and then you can take the quiz over here again if you want to, and then you can enter this course. And what you can do is just when you schedule for team training, it says that, but you'll actually have a free call with me. So you can schedule a call and we can talk about how you can get funding, how you can actually subsidize this learning, this type of training for you or for your team. So if you're a part of a school, and if it's just you that's interested, you don't have to pay for this. This is actually subsidized and it's your right to learn this information. So yeah, not just a luxury. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I've shared the links. I've shared Lara's website on the comments, and I've added your LinkedIn as well, because as you're not on Facebook, if people want to reach out to you personally and connect. Thanks so much for coming along this morning, Lara.
Thank you so much for having me. Hope it wasn't too businessy, but like businessy enough.
Yeah, no, and I think you're right. It's important that we know more about these things, and then we can kind of start thinking about how we can make it a more effective part of our teaching. I know people in the past have said, you know, we need to move away from the environment as one unit in the course book. It needs to be a much more holistic
Yeah.
part of English language. And I think that this as well, being sustainable and teaching our students good practice, is what we need to be doing more of as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, everyone have a great day. And yep, feel free to pop any comments on the chat and I can pass them on to Lara.
Bye. Thank you for joining or for listening later.